Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In ancient Chinese palaces, there was a special position called female official. From the name, many people might mistakenly think that a female official is the same as a palace maid. But in reality, there is a significant difference between the two. The roles and responsibilities of female officials and palace maids are completely different. Even though they both existed in the same palace, their status and functions were not the same. For those who enjoy watching Chinese historical dramas, they may feel more curious about the female official position, wanting to know what exactly this position entailed, what these officials did, and which female officials in history left a significant impact. According to relevant historians, many of the rituals and rules in ancient China can actually be traced back to the Zhou dynasty. For example, the well-known Zhou Li Book of Rites was an important code of etiquette formulated during the Zhou dynasty. The establishment of the female official system also began in this period. During that time, the Duke of Zhou, Ji Dan, introduced many significant rituals and systems, including the rules of the 3 palaces, 6 courts, and 72 concubines. These systems helped establish the monarch's noble status and brought about a series of changes in palace management. Because of the emperor's exalted status, he could not personally handle daily trivial matters, especially in his private life, so someone was needed to assist him to better manage the affairs of the palace. Particularly the emperor's and the imperial harem's daily routines, the positions of eunuchs and palace maids were created. However, while there were many palace maids, managing them could be rather complex. Thus, the position of female official was established. From a historical perspective, the main responsibility of a female official was to manage the palace maids. Simply put, a female official can be seen as the supervisor among the palace maids. They were in charge of directing and organizing the work of the palace maids, ensuring that daily affairs in the palace ran smoothly. Unlike high-ranking female roles such as consorts, female officials were in a higher position than palace maids but still much lower than the consorts. The position of female official was between that of palace maids and consorts, making it a relatively middle-level role with both certain powers and responsibilities. With the management of female officials, many of the palace's tedious tasks became more efficiently handled. The female official system continued to operate and play a role throughout the Zhou dynasty. However, as time passed, records of female officials gradually decreased, especially after the establishment of the Qin dynasty, when the position of female official temporarily disappeared. It wasn't until the Sui dynasty that the position was revived. During the Sui dynasty, female officials were once again given prominence, and in the Tang and Song dynasties, their status and power reached unprecedented heights. Female officials in the Tang dynasty not only had the authority to manage palace maids, but they were also responsible for important palace affairs and even influenced imperial decision-making. In the Song dynasty, female officials similarly played an important role in palace management. Their duties and powers gradually expanded, making them a force not to be overlooked in the imperial court. By the Ming dynasty, the position of female official still held a relatively high status, continuing to participate in the daily management and decision-making in the palace. During the Qing dynasty, the role of the female official was gradually incorporated into the system of the imperial household department. Though the role itself did not disappear completely, it simply evolved into more specific functions. Some historical records describe how female officials were selected. The position of female official in ancient royal palaces was a special one, situated between the palace maids and the concubines, with a slightly higher status than that of a maid. Given this, the selection standards for female officials were naturally not simple, and were far more stringent than those for ordinary palace maids. The selection process for female officials was actually very strict. Firstly, beauty was still an important criterion when selecting female officials. After all, the women in the palace represented the dignity of the royal family, and the emperor and the court could not allow an unattractive appearance to appear in such a high-status setting. Therefore, when selecting female officials, candidates with higher beauty standards were first chosen from among the palace maids. These maids not only had to meet certain beauty standards but also needed to possess proper demeanor and grace, able to display the majesty and beauty of the royal family both inside and outside the palace. Secondly, emotional intelligence was also a key factor in the selection of female officials. The palace was an extremely complex place with intricate interpersonal relationships. The noble individuals in the palace, including the Empress and Emperor, often had difficult-to-read temperaments. If a female official had low emotional intelligence and dealt with issues too directly or inelegantly, she might offend the emperor or concubines, leading to serious consequences. Therefore, when selecting female officials, much attention was paid to their interpersonal communication skills. Women who were able to read people's emotions, be understanding, and harmoniously interact with various people in the palace were more likely to stand out and become female officials. Moreover, female officials were not only the supervisors of the palace maids. They also needed to act as mediators in the daily affairs of the palace, handling delicate matters. Thus, those who could handle problems gently and carefully, ensuring that all parties felt comfortable, were the most suitable candidates for the position of female official. Finally, an important factor in the selection of female officials was their talents and abilities. Although the primary role of female officials was to manage the palace maids and ensure the orderly functioning of palace affairs, they also needed to serve the emperor and concubines and sometimes even perform arts for them. For example, playing the piano, painting, or dancing. These talents not only enhanced the palace's atmosphere but could also help the female official establish a deeper connection with the emperor during special occasions. Therefore, their artistic abilities were strictly considered during the selection process. In history, many female officials who gained the emperor's favor often had a particular skill. Whether proficient in qin, chess, calligraphy, and painting, or talented in poetry, songs, and essays. These skills helped female officials win more favor and trust from the emperor. It is worth mentioning, what exactly did female officials do? According to historical records, the duties of female officials in ancient royal palaces can generally be divided into 4 categories. Let's go through them in detail to help you better understand what exactly female officials were responsible for. The first category, managing the miscellaneous affairs of the palace. The most fundamental responsibility of a female official was to manage the miscellaneous affairs in the palace. In ancient royal palaces, the workload was extremely complex and covered many different aspects. Some tasks were handled by eunuchs, but many others, especially the daily affairs of the palace maids, were managed by female officials. Therefore, one of the most important jobs of female officials was to manage the palace maids and ensure they could carry out their tasks smoothly. If female officials could do these basic tasks well, many other palace affairs would proceed smoothly. After all, if even the most basic duties couldn't be handled properly, subsequent tasks would be difficult to accomplish. The second category, internal palace etiquette and instruction. Once female officials had performed well in managing the palace maids and handling basic affairs, some of them would be assigned to more important responsibilities, such as managing the etiquette and instruction within the inner palace. The inner palace mainly referred to the area where the emperor and his concubines resided, which was the most crucial part of the court. When a female official had the opportunity to interact with these noble concubines and successfully managed the internal palace's etiquette and rules, her career could reach new heights. At this point, the female official's emotional intelligence and ability to handle interpersonal relationships became especially important. People in the inner palace held high status and had complex personalities. If a female official didn't know how to deal with these situations flexibly, she could easily offend others and be ostracized. Therefore, emotional intelligence played a crucial role in the career of a female official. Those with low emotional intelligence, who didn't know how to read the room, were likely to lose favor quickly and end up in a tragic fate. The third category, becoming the manager of the inner palace. After being trained in the inner palace, a few female officials had the opportunity to be promoted and become officers responsible for managing official documents and important affairs of the inner palace. Historically, during the Tang dynasty, many female officials achieved significant accomplishments in this area, especially during the reign of Empress Zetian. Zetian trusted women and promoted many female officials, the most famous of whom was Shangguanwaner. Shangguanwaner was not only a trusted confidant of Zetian, but she also once managed important state affairs, effectively becoming the female prime minister of the Tang dynasty with extraordinary power. Although positions like Shangguanwaner's were extremely rare, her example shows that during certain periods of history, female officials did have the opportunity to gain prominence and change their fate through their abilities. However, such opportunities were extremely limited. For the vast majority of female officials, especially the ordinary ones, it was nearly impossible to stand out and achieve career advancement solely based on their own abilities in the palace. This forced many female officials to seek other ways to change their fate. The fourth category, seizing opportunities and favor to achieve advancement. Since opportunities for promotion through merit were so scarce, some female officials chose to gain favor through other means. Historically, there were indeed female officials who rose to become important figures in the palace through luck and the emperor's favor. Their success often did not come from personal ability, but from unique opportunities and coincidences. For example, during the Song dynasty, Li Chunfei was initially an ordinary female official. However, during a time when she folded blankets for Emperor Zhenzong, he took notice of her, later favored her, and eventually, she bore the emperor's child and became the Empress Dowager. Similarly, during the Ming dynasty, Empress Dowager Ji started as a female official in the palace. But after gaining the favor of Emperor Xianzong, she ultimately achieved the position of Empress Dowager. Historical scholars comments. According to relevant historians, the position of female official was extremely important in ancient Chinese history, especially within the royal palace. They were responsible for handling a large number of miscellaneous affairs and were an indispensable part of the palace's daily operations. It can be said that female officials played a crucial role in maintaining the smooth functioning of the entire palace. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.